Violence has broken out across Manipur between members of the Meitei and Kuki community. The government in the northeastern state has issued shoot-at-sight orders and has snapped mobile internet services to diffuse tensions and control the spiraling violence. Videos that you see over there show the destruction of property, a lot of burning, a lot of fires, even in the state capital, Imphal. The situation is now calm after violence broke out. But what we really want to understand is the underlying cause. And before I get to my expert panelists, let's just try and look at some of the contradictions and tension points between the Meitei community and other tribes. So it's a decades-long fault line between non-tribal Meiteis and some tribes. The Meiteis reside in the valley and they want tribal status. Hill-residing tribes like the Kokis, Zomis, they oppose the Meitei demand. The Meiteis form 64% of Manipur's population but own only 10% of land. The tribals form 36% of Manipur's population but own 90% of land. If given the quota of a scheduled tribe, then the Meiteis, it is believed or it is feared, may buy land in tribal populated hill areas. Now this is just one of the key concerns. There are others as well. Sanjoy Hazarika joins us, as does Patricia Mukim. Patricia, let me come to you first. Do you believe, firstly, for now, the situation on the ground is somewhat better than it was 24 hours back?
It's better, but there are a lot of people who need to be rescued from certain designated areas. They are living in great fear, and they're trying to reach out for help, but they do not know who to call, especially because there's internet shutdown, there's mobile shutdown. So there is still a lot of fear and tension, and I think rightly so. So I wonder how the army and the paramilitary forces are deployed. I think they need to reach out much more to different areas that are being targeted. The tribal inhabited areas of the Imphal Valley.
Sanjoy, as I understand it, there is a High Court order on the basis of which members of the Meitei community may be granted the status that they seek. Given that there is a High Court order, what does anyone have in terms of an option in trying to bring down tensions in the state?
No, see, it's not as simple as that. No, Vishnu, as you know, this process is long and complicated. First of all, it has to go before there's a process in the entire structure of declaring a community or tribe. And if I go into that, it'll be fairly long. The Registrar General of India has to be approached. Ultimately, it has to go before cabinet and parliament, because it's not just something that a state can declare. And this has been, of course, an issue in Manipur for decades. It's not a new thing. What has, I think, of most concern to all of us who are from the region, and I wish there were people on your panel from Manipur.
But we can't get them, as you know, because it's all shut down.
No, yeah. That's fine. But even on the phone, they can be reached. This I do know because I've been speaking to people on the phone. It is absolutely imperative that first the violence has to end and peace has to be restored. Mm-hmm. And we are still getting reports of different, as Patricia has just pointed out, of people who are feel very insecure and extremely vulnerable in different parts of the state. And we're talking specifically in the valley area of Imphal and also in the Kuki-dominated districts. The other parts of Manipur are not having this problem as of now. And what I would also like to bring out, both Patricia and I are in Shillong right now. I think she's in Shillong, I'm not quite sure. But there have been, there is a fallout to these incidents in other parts of the region. And in Shillong, there have been people who've been detained on the account of disturbing the peace. There have been clashes, rather limited. I think states are also evacuating members of members from their state from Manipur.
200
from Meghalaya itself, yeah.
All right, hold on for half a second. Patricia, I'll just come to you in a moment. I've got a couple of key flashpoints, and then let's talk a little bit about this besides the land issue itself. Now, flashpoint number one, some tribals were evicted as part of the state government's drive against poppy cultivation. A second flashpoint, tribal evictions were done without consensus of the Autonomous Hill Area Committee. A third flashpoint, churches used by tribals were demolished. The state has cited illegal construction. And flashpoint number four, a survey by the Chief Minister to root out illegal immigrants has angered members of the Kuki tribe. Flashpoint number five, an atmosphere of suspicion with the Chief Minister Biren Singh belonging to the Meitei community. Patricia, could you reflect on one or two of these points to explain how it's part of a series of concerns which is, sort of exploded now?
Yeah. I think this drive against poppy cultivation also has the sanction of large members of the Kuki community because there is a problem of drug addiction, huge problems. But I suspect that those areas evacuated from poppy would be used for marijuana cultivation because the CM himself has said he wants to legalize marijuana for medicinal and industrial uses. Now, that's a different matter. We also know that there are a lot of, quite a few drug lords in Imphal and in other areas. So their involvement in this whole, conflagration cannot be ruled out. While some people have welcomed this move against poppy cultivation, perhaps it hurts the interests of others. But this whole thing about terming those coming from Myanmar as refugees, because the way these areas have been, the boundaries have been drawn, the McMahon line as we call it, has left out the same ethnic communities in different areas, in different nations. Some of them are here in India, others are in Myanmar. If you look at the Naga community also, there are a lot of Nagas on the other side of the border. So when they are in trouble, they come and seek help from their kin, and terming them as illegal immigrants and then talking about an NRC and talking about face identification of the ILP is all kind of, they feel, the tribes, I think, feel pressured, and they don't know how to take out that they don't know how to release that pressure.
Yep.
Because if we look at the ST status for Meiteis, that's a one single judge bench court that has given that order. So the next thing would have been to appeal to a higher court or to even go to the Supreme Court if you don't like a certain judgment. I think violence really doesn't solve anything, but unfortunately this whole region can conflagrate, at any point, but we do not have peace institutions, we don't have peace building mechanisms, we don't have peace building NGOs of any kind that can come forward now. Now is the time to talk peace. Now is the time for church elders, for instance, to come out and say that we want peace at this point.
Sanjoy, would you like to add to that, Sanjoy? To deal with the immediate situation, can the centre play some sort of a proactive role?
To deal with the immediate situation, the centre has taken an extraordinary step. It's invoked Article 355, which is one short of 356, which is dismissing the government and imposing president's rule. It's basically taken the control of law and order completely into its own hands. 355, I have not heard of it being used at least I've tried to locate where it's been used. It's not really been used anywhere as far as I know. And this is an extraordinary step which tells you what the central government is thinking of the situation in Manipur and of the government, which is its own party, which is running the state. And I think that this has been building up for a long time. And Manipur is a very, very, very sensitive area which has a lot of ethnic diversity. But there is this tension which has been brewing for decades between the hill communities, between the Nagas and the Kukis earlier, but that has abated, and now between the Meiteis of the Manipur in the Imphal Valley and the Kukis. And I think it's very important that, as Patricia says, for everybody to urge that the violence ends, because you cannot have a situation where there are armed groups taking advantage of the situation. Yeah. And this is something that is pushing the state back to an earlier time. And it's very, very important, I think, that the situation is brought under control, that the communities which need protection, whether they're Meitei in a tribal-dominated area or Kukis in a Meitei-dominated area, they get the protection that is required. And we are still getting, as I said, reports that
of
some
sporadic violence. I take that point. I need to wrap this up. I'd like to thank you both very much for being with us. There needs to be a much closer understanding of the situation on the ground, but finding a solution to this will perhaps take a long time. I'd like to thank you both very much for being with us. We're out of time on Left, Right and Centre. Good night.